Hey guys, so today I had this idea, but actually I had somebody request this and I'm happy to do it because I was excited to try it myself. So I do have moisturizer on, that's all. I'm shiny, but I'm also oily, so you know, it is what it is. But the other day I did a look with my Natasha Denona Glam palette, which if you haven't heard, I love very much. I've been using it a lot lately. So much so that it's been a little bit of a detriment to my panning series, but you know, it is what it is. I just couldn't leave it alone. But anyway, so I had this beautiful palette that I got just the other day, well, maybe a week or so ago now. So I've loved it, been using it very, very much. And the look that I did in that video, someone said, can you recreate it with Mary Kay shadows? And I was like, sure, I can. So I put some of my Mary Kay shadows in here and I'm going to recreate the look that I did in that. So it's not going to be exact. It's not like I'm saying that these are a dupe for the Natasha Denona shadows. However, I think that the formula is super comparable. I'm sure that there are a lot of differences in which we're going to find that out. But also I think that the formula of the Mary Kay shadows are superb. However, I would have never chosen this color story. I just put the colors in here that I was going to use. But I would have never chosen this particular color story together. So that's something that the Glam palette had kind of, you know, encouraged me to do. So on this eye, I'm going to do Mary Kay. And on this eye, I'm going to do Natasha Denona so we can see side by side. So we can see if the look is similar and just really compare. So I'm going to insert swatches right now. I did these swatches last night and I tried to really match colors as best that I could. So like I said, they're not shade for shade dupes. I'm not trying to act like they are. There's going to be some differences, but I tried to do the very best that I could. So I'm going to use the same brush on both eyes, but I'm going to clean it in between. I've talked about this before, but I have this Sonia Kashuk quick clean dry brush spray. So what I'll do is I'll just spray it, clean it, and then move on to the next one. So I am going to, like I said, recreate the eye look that I did. This is usually the brush I like to do just my all over color. I did prime with the same eye primer that I did in the video that I did with the Natasha Denona. So this is the e.l.f. Putty Eye Primer. It's in the shade Rose. Okay, so I'm going to take my Mary Kay shadow. This first one here is the shade Biscotti. And that's just going to set my primer all over. Cleaning my brush. I have a little cloth here that I'm swirling my brush on after I spray. Okay. So in the Natasha Denona palette, I used this shade here, and it's, the name of the shade is Transition. I did not switch my colors around at all. They are in the placements that she originally had them, but I did make mention in the video that I did that on her Instagram, I believe she has a different like placement that you can do for different skin tones. So I think it's in her highlights maybe. So you have to go to her actual Instagram page. Okay, so this is going to be a difference because this shade from Natasha Denona had like an ashy gray color, and I don't say ashy in a bad way. But the Biscotti was just more light. It didn't have the ashy. So this was the very closest one. So yes, there is a difference here. And I do see it, so I'm not trying to, but I just needed something to set the primer. And that's what I did. So I'm taking my fluffy blending brush that I like to use, and I'm dipping in to this shade here from Mary Kay. It is Cashmere Haze. I have a list here so that I don't tell you wrong, but this is Cashmere Haze. And what I'm doing is I'm fluffing that in the crease. And of course, this is going to have more of a gray tone to it. I'm dipping into the Natasha Denona palette, and this shade here is labeled Crease. So you can see here, like in the pan, this looks like it's going to be more brown, but it actually ends up looking more gray on the eye, and I'm not sure if that's because of the transition shade that we laid down, because it has more of that ashy tone to it, that it ends up looking this way. But that's why I went more with the gray tone from the Mary Kay side. So what do you guys think? Looking pretty similar. I mean, they're not exact by any means, but they do look similar. So the next shade I'm going to dip into is probably one of my favorites. This is Hazelnut from Mary Kay. So I'm just using that same fluffy brush. And what I did with this is just kind of fluffed it around the edges. And then for the Natasha Denona palette, I'm going into this shade here called Blend. So one thing to note about the Natasha Denona shadows is they're super pigmented. So like when you're going to lay them down, you better make sure you're laying them in the spot you want them to be, because that's where they're going to land. So with Mary Kay shadows, you got a little bit more playtime. You can kind of fluff them a little bit more and just kind of finesse. Natasha Denona shadows, you want to make sure that they are pretty much very concentrated to the area that you want them, and then you can fluff them. You do have playtime, I'm not saying that you don't, but they're just gonna basically stay about the same place that you put them. So if you're laying them down, make sure they're in the spot you want them. So they're looking pretty similar. I'm gonna go back to that first shade that we used, which was Mary Kay Biscotti, and just kind of fluff the edges a little. Just kind of tone it down a little and just make a smooth transition. The Natasha Denona palette, it's the transition shade. So one thing I do have to say is Natasha Denona shadows are more pigmented. However, let me just put this in there. Pigment is a great thing, but Mary Kay does not like pigment. But the pigment from the Natasha Denona shadows is just, you're going to lay it down, you're going to see it immediately. And you're going to see it immediately from the Mary Kay shadows as well, but it's just going to be a lot more in your face from Natasha Denona. So, like I saw that immediately when I laid it down, and I had to blend real quickly. And then, of course, I still have some from the Biscotti over here as well. That's going to look more gray too. So that's things you have to think about. But Natasha Denona, they are more pigmented, but if you are a beginner with makeup, sometimes you don't need necessarily a super pigmented shadow because you need some playtime. So that's just like a little word of advice. If you are a beginner with shadows, I don't say go out and spend a ton of money on your first palette. I'm not saying that. I think you should play with some more inexpensive palettes and then work your way up. I'm by no means an expert on anything, so I'm not trying to say I'm a makeup artist and I know it all. I'm not. I've not had any formal training, only what I learned by just putting my makeup on. So all I'm saying is what I've learned along the way is what I'm sharing with you. So when I was first putting it on, I didn't need a ton of, you know, expensive things to play with. And, you know, when you're a beginner with blending, you think, oh, blending, that's easy. Well, sometimes it's not. And you'll see that too once you get into it. So just a little FYI. So going into this Mary Kay shadow here is Stormy. Dip in my brush. It's an angled brush, so the angle helps me in this outer corner here. So I'm just going to put the pigment there and kind of fluff it into the outer V, but it's a bigger portion of the V. And in my first video, I did make mention of how Natasha Denona shadows do basically blend themselves, and they do. It's all about your tools because if you have different brushes, yours may perform a little bit different. And it's also all about technique. You know, there's just a lot of different things that go into play. So I don't want you guys to think, well, if my shadows don't perform like hers, something's wrong. You know, it's just, there's a lot of factors that go into play. This Natasha Denona palette, I'm going into the shade here called Outer Eyelid. Same brush. And it's going in that outer V again. I'm fluffing it out there. So see, I hold my brush at an angle and then I do this. And again, super pigmented. So immediately I can tell you Natasha Denona has more metallic foil to it. And it's a little deeper too. See? It's just a bit deeper. And don't worry about these edges, I'm gonna clean them up. I'm going into the shade Rose Gold from Mary Kay, another one of my absolute favorites. I've hit pan on it, that's how much I love it. This is going into the center eyelid. Then from Natasha Denona, I'm going into the shade here. It's called Center Eyelid. And again, center eyelid. I made a mistake, guys. I was looking at this next shade and I was like, those don't look similar. What did I do there? I know I swatched a bunch. I did these swatches last night. And so today when I was getting them together, I had wrote it down last night, but I think I messed up on, like I added this shade just now. And I had this one down here, but I moved it. But you'll see why in just a second. This shade is called Candlelight. And it's going on this inner portion. And then this is the reason why I had that gold shade, but this is the one I was putting on this. I was like, wait, that doesn't look right. So sorry about that. That was my mistake. This shade is actually called Inner Corner. So I'm putting that on the inner corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a clean blending brush and just blend these edges really quickly. I'm going to dip back into, on this one, I'm going into the shade Hazelnut right here. I'm going to just blend on the edge, but I just got just a tiny bit. I didn't get very much. And then on the Natasha Denona palette, I'm going back into the shade Blend. Again, just very little. So the top is done. I do want to make note that the Natasha, I can't talk today, guys. Just to note that the Natasha Denona did have some fallout over here, which again, that's why we do our eyes first. But Mary Kay, I don't have fallout. The shadow is, I did bring it down too far, and I'm gonna have to clean that up. But as far as fallout goes, there's none. That's one thing I like about the Mary Kay shadows, I have to say. One more thing before I go do my base. We're gonna take this shade here, it's called Gold Status, and it's gonna go on the brow bone. And the first time I used this palette, I basically went by the shade she had labeled. Since I've kind of done my own thing with it, but that's why a lot of the shades are basically labeled where I put them. So again, taking this shade down here called Brow Bone. So there are some, you know, they're not exactly the same. This is more gold than this one, but still, I don't see a huge difference. So let me go finish this, cover up the red, and then I'll come back and we'll do the bottom lash line together. Okay. I use my Mary Kay foundation, Mary Kay concealer. I used my Too Faced setting powder, only because I like a setting powder with a little bit of powder to it, or a little bit of color to it. And my translucent powder is just, it has a white cast, and I just feel like I get a little extra coverage if it has a little color. So I just reached in and pulled one out. Then I used my Mary Kay Gilded Glow Bronzer, and then I mixed these 3 cheek colors. I used the glazed highlighter. I used my volumizing brow tint along with my brow pencil that is up there. And then I put on my Mary Kay liquid liner, and then just the Mary Kay black liner. And I used my Ultimate mascara on my top lashes. And then for lips, I did my medium nude lip liner with chocolate nude lip gloss. So I really like this chocolate nude. It's gonna be a good fall color. But yeah, it looks pretty good. So let's finish the bottom lash line, and then we'll compare a little bit more. So for the Mary Kay side, we are going to use this color called Shadow. So I'm just taking a flat liner brush and dipping into that, and I'm going to push that up against the bottom lash line, and just about the outer third is all I'm going to do. Then for Natasha Denona, we are going to use the shade Lash Line. Then I'm going to take a pencil brush, and with the Mary Kay shadows, this one's called Hot Fudge. I'm going to smoke out that shade that I pushed up against the lash line. With the Natasha Denona, I'm using this shade Smoke. And then I'm going to take the shade Gold Status and put that in my inner corner. And on the inner portion of the bottom lash line. And then with the Natasha Denona, I'm going with the Brow Bone shade for my inner corner. Put my mascara on, and that's it. So, are they identical? No, I'm not trying to say that they are, but they are quite similar. And you can see this one's a lot more reflective, but also this is very reflective. So it's not like this one doesn't have any reflection and it's just very dull. It's just like this one definitely has more if you're comparing the two. So, but I love both sides, honestly. You guys tell me what you think down in the comments, and just let me know if you think they're comparable, if you think that I'm just losing my mind. But yeah, I took some of the Mary Kay shadows and recreated my Natasha Denona look from my video the other day, and I'm happy to do this for other ones if you guys want to see it, because the Mary Kay shadows are just amazing. I'm sorry, they are. I'm not trying to sell you any. I'm just telling you my opinion. I love Mary Kay shadows, okay? I'm not trying to recruit you to sell Mary Kay. I'm not trying to say that Mary Kay is going to change your life. I'm telling you, I love Mary Kay shadows. And they're amazing. And so with that said, I can have a look from Mary Kay shadows that are so comparable to Natasha Denona. Now, are Mary Kay shadows super affordable? No. I'm not going to throw that in your face that they are. I think that they are a little bit overpriced, in my opinion. And not because they're not good quality. I think they're worth every dime you're going to pay. Trust me on that. They are worth every single dime. But they're just expensive, honestly. So if you, you know, calculate how much it is for, you know, purchasing the amount of shadows that are in this, I totally get you, totally know where you're coming from, and I'm not trying to sway you to do that, but I just wanted you to know you can totally get a look that is so comparable to Natasha Denona from Mary Kay. So it was requested, number one, but number two, I just wanted to show you that it was totally possible to do. So I just absolutely love Mary Kay. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if you're interested in Mary Kay, but you think it is a little bit pricey, you can save money if you do sign up to become a Mary Kay consultant. Again, I'm not asking you to. I'm just telling you a way to save. But it's a good business for me. I have been in it almost a year now, and I've, you know, it's like any other thing, you have to build it, but it's building. So, but I just love makeup, so that's why I'm in it. Anyway, my hair's crazy today, but anyway, I really enjoy Natasha Denona. I really, really do. Like, this palette is my favorite at the moment. I'm not gonna lie to you, it really is, and I go for it a lot, and it's used quite a bit. My panning series is kind of kaput for the moment. I don't know if it's gonna, I probably won't hit pan. I'm just gonna go ahead and put that disclaimer out there. If you're watching and you watch most of my videos, yeah, probably not gonna hit pan this month on the Soft Glam palette, and this is the reason why. But I do love the shadows. The quality of these shadows is amazing. However, I love the quality of Mary Kay shadows as well, and I've heard people tell me, people have told me just how amazing Mary Kay shadows are and how they prefer Mary Kay shadows. So it's not just me who feels this way. So anyway, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it wasn't a boring video for you. And if you enjoy it, I can do more. I do have one more planned kind of like this, and it was at request as well. So if you want to see more, I'm happy to do it and compare. So hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.